Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast presented by Saint Church. My name's Caleb, and our hope is to help you study the Word of God every single day. Every day, we're taking time to upload episodes onto Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, where we are reading through a chapter of the Bible. We look at the context it was written in, and we see what it has to say for us today. And so today, our hope is to do just that by continuing on in our study through the book of Numbers. We're going to be reading out of Numbers chapter 11, and we're going to see what the Word has to say today. Now, real quick before we dive on in, if you end up finding this beneficial, I just want to encourage you, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, to take a moment to subscribe, follow, leave a like, leave a rating. All those things are so appreciated. But with that being said, let's just dive right on in. Numbers chapter 11, starting in verse 1. Here's what the Word of God has to say today. Now the people complained about their hardships in the hearing of the Lord. And when he heard them, his anger was aroused. The fire from the Lord burned among them and consumed some of the outskirts of the camp. When the people cried out to Moses, he prayed to the Lord, and the fire died down. So that place was called Taberah, because fire from the Lord had burned among them. The rabble with them began to crave other food, and again the Israelites started wailing and said, "If only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt at no cost, also the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. But now we have lost our appetite. We never see anything but this manna." The manna was like coriander seed and looked like resin. The people went around gathering it and then ground it in a hand mill or crushed it in a mortar. They cooked it in a pot or made it into loaves, and it tasted like something made with olive oil. When the dew settled on the camp at night, the manna also came down. Moses heard the people of every family wailing at the entrance to their tents. The Lord became exceedingly angry, and Moses was troubled. He asked the Lord, "Why have you brought this trouble on your servant? What have I done to displease you that you put the burden of all these people on me? Did I conceive all these people? Did I give birth to them? Why do you tell me to carry them in my arms as a nurse carries an infant to the land you promised on oath to their ancestors? Where can I get meat for all these people? They keep wailing to me, 'Give us meat to eat.' I cannot carry all these people by myself. The burden is too heavy for me. If this is how you are going to treat me, please go ahead and kill me, if I have found favor in your eyes, and do not let me face my own ruin." The Lord said to Moses, "Bring me 70 of Israel's elders who are known to you as leaders and officials among the people. Have them come to the tent of meeting, that they may stand there with you. I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take some of the power of the Spirit that is on you and put it on them. They will share the burden of the people with you, so that you will not carry it alone. Tell the people, 'Consecrate yourselves in preparation for tomorrow, when you will eat meat.' The Lord heard you when you wailed, 'If only we had meat to eat. We are better off in Egypt.' Now the Lord will give you meat, and you will eat it. You will not eat it for just 1 day, or 2 days, or 5, or 10, or 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and you loathe it, because you have rejected the Lord who is among you, and have wailed before him, saying, 'Why did we ever leave Egypt?' But Moses said, 'Here, I am among 600,000 men on foot, and you say I will give them meat to eat for a whole month? Would they have enough if flocks and herds were slaughtered for them? Would they have enough for all the fish in the sea were caught for them?' The Lord answered Moses, Is the Lord's arm too short? Now you will see whether or not what I say will come true for you." So Moses went out and told the people what the Lord had said. He brought together 70 of their elders and had them stand around the tent. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke with them, and he took some of the power of the Spirit that was on him and put it on the 70 elders. When the Spirit rested on them, they prophesied, but did not do so again. However, 2 men, whose names were Eldad and Medad, had remained in the camp. They were listed among the elders, but did not go out to the tent. Yet the Spirit also rested on them, and they prophesied in the camp. A young man ran and told Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. Joshua, son of Nun, who had been Moses' aide since his youth, spoke up and said, Moses, my Lord, stop them. But Moses replied, Are you jealous for my sake? I wish that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit on them. Then Moses and the elders of Israel returned to the camp. Now a wind went out from the Lord and drove quail in from the sea. It scattered them up to 2 cubits deep all around the camp, as far as a day's walk in any direction. All that day and night and all the next day the people went out and gathered quail. No one gathered less than 10 homers. Then they spread them out all around the camp. But while the meat was still between their teeth and before it could be consumed, the anger of the Lord burned against the people, and he struck them with a severe plague. Therefore the place was named Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people who had craved other food. From Kibroth Hattaavah, the people traveled to Hazeroth and stayed there. And that is the close of Numbers chapter 11. I mean, a pretty exciting chapter if we're being honest. I mean, in the book of Numbers, we have been reading through things like lineages, and we have been reading through things like numbers of people and accountants and things like that. But right here, we get to see an incredible story take place that serves in some ways as also a warning. What do we see at the very start? The very first few verses, before we even see them complain for quail and say they would rather be enslaved in Egypt again, we see that the people of Israel, they start to complain. They start to grumble, and it says the fire of the Lord went around the camp, and it ended up consuming some people. What are we seeing here? We're seeing that guess what? God has done great things for Israel. All the stuff we've been reading up unto this point is that the Lord would lead his people. And what happens the first moment that God leads the people of Israel to a new place? They start to grumble. They start to complain. They start to get upset. And so in this moment, what does the Lord do? The Lord sends a warning. He sends a warning saying, hey, you got to realize who you're talking to. You got to realize I'm not like other gods. I'm not like other things. I'm not false. I'm not fake. I am real, and I have done real things for you. Yet after he even sends a warning, they then start to grumble about their food. Think about the ridiculous nature of what they are saying. They are saying we long for Egypt, where the fish was free, where there was cucumbers and melons and all this other stuff. It's ridiculous. It was not free. What they're doing here, and you have to realize this, they are kind of going and they are starting to like retcon their whole story. They're starting to rewrite it, and they're looking and they're saying, you remember we had free food? It was food that cost you your whole life. It was food that was given to you because you were enslaved, because you were slaves with no will, with no ability, because the Egyptians had treated you harshly and they fed you simply so you could continue to do stuff for them. It was not a good situation. And so God, in his anger, yes, his righteous anger, looks and says, are you kidding me? And what do we see from Moses as God goes and he says, I'm going to provide enough meat for them to eat for an entire month. What's he saying here? He's looking and saying, you know what? I hear what you're saying. Guess what? I will show you that I'm greater than the free food that you supposedly got when you were in Egypt. And he says he's going to send the quail. What I love about Moses looks and he's like, God, how am I to tell them you're going to provide a month worth? Even Moses in this moment, what's he doing? In this moment, Moses even is looking and saying, God, if you fail me on this, they're going to be so upset. This feels unsurmountable. And the Lord looks and says, do I have a short arm? Do I have a short arm? Am I not able to reach out and do whatever I desire because I am God? And so he goes. And he also responds in compassion to Moses. We have to realize there's two different things here. You have the grumbling of the Israelites. The grumbling of the Israelites is that they are saying that God is not good and God is not providing. Now, when you have Moses, he then looks and says, why did you seat me with these people so that I must nurse them as though I was their mother or I was a nurse or that kind of a thing? He looks and he does go to God with his grief, but he does not look at God and say anything poorly of God. He looks at God and he says, "This is too much for me. I would rather you actually kill me than make me continue on with this." But he's actually taking it to the Lord. What were the Israelites doing? They were taking it to themselves. They were complaining. They were side-talking the Lord. So in this moment, we see that there is something important taking place. God looks at Moses and he looks at Moses's, what we could say, complaint, and he gives him a solution. Now realize part of what that solution is. He takes some of the spirit that was on Moses and he gives it to these 70 men. It's interesting that Moses had to actually be willing to relinquish some of what God had been doing in his life for others to receive. Again, Old Covenant, Old Testament, but it's interesting to see that he needed to be willing to let go, and he was. Now, as these people receive, they then start to prophesy and do all these different things. We see Joshua's reaction. Joshua's upset. He's like, these guys doing this, they're going to think that they have power too. And Moses, I would think it's beautiful because it is prophetic in his own right. He says, I wish the Spirit of God was on all people. What do we see in the New Testament? The Spirit of God is given to all people that choose to follow after Christ as a seal upon our hearts. And we do walk in that way that Moses spoke about all the way back in Numbers 11. Yet in the end, though, Moses receives his help. He receives these people. Yet the people of Israel, they receive the food, yes, but then they are struck with a plague, because what do they get to see? God goes and he gives them quail up to their shins. He's looking and saying, here's all the quail you could imagine, a day's journey walk around the camp. What did that become? It probably became a mess. What was it God doing? Showing that he had more than enough for them, but that their grumbling was not the answer, that them doubting him was not the answer. And so, friends, today, what do we see here? We see a God who is good, and we see a God, yes, who at times is jealous, a God who is jealous for us to understand the fullness of who he is. And jealousy is not always a bad thing. A husband being jealous for his wife, or a wife being jealous for her husband, if they are being unfaithful, that's not bad. That's the desire of their heart. That's their love. That's their care. And so as the Israelites are being unfaithful, yes, the Lord starts to get jealous. He does get angry, but it's of righteousness because he wants them to know that he has the best thing. And so in this moment, they are called, yes, to correction. But once again, remember, the whole beginning of Numbers, what have we read? That God is making a path and he's giving them clarity. He's giving them steps. He's provided for them. He's doing more than enough for them. He's helping them to know that he is with them in and through it all. And what do they do the moment they have to actually trust him? They grumble and complain. Why all these last chapters has it mattered that we reflect on how clear God is being? It is because in the moment where they had to actually trust him, they did not. So friend, today for you and I, may we trust that the Lord is with us. May we trust that he has a plan. May we trust that he has a purpose. And may we not doubt him in the midst of difficult times. And so friends, with that being said, that's what I got for you today. If you have any questions, comment them down below. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and leave a rating. But with that being said, thanks for being here today. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow because we're taking time to study the Word of God every single day.